Hello, everyone. I, CA Smriti Shah, on behalf of Women Members Empowerment Committee of ICAI, welcome you all in the Sky High Symposium Series 37. Sky High Symposium is a Wednesday series of programs conducted by the Committee for the Women and by the Women. It is one of the Women Member Empowerment Committee's initiative to not only disseminate information to women members on technical updation and non-technical skills, but also to empower and inspire women members to come at forefront and realize their verbal skills at public forum. Today, we are going to cover session on practice management software, a necessity for organizing and scaling up practice and tackling of notices after filing GSTR 99C. For our first session, we have CA Priya Madrecha. Welcome, CA Priya. I'll introduce her first. Priya Madrecha, an ex-KPMG, is a qualified chartered accountant, as well as a qualified company secretary with an All India rank. She is currently the director in Madrecha Solutions. She has handled assignments involving fund structuring and tax implications of international jurisdictions like Singapore, Mauritius, Netherlands, amongst others. She has also an experience of dealing with cross-border legal and tax regions. Being a CA herself, she is no stranger to the issues commonly faced by CA practitioners. Madrecha Solution is a software company providing services to CA firms. She has a knack for automation, and she handles data transformation related engagements. She has helped more than 1,500 CA firms successfully transform their business from being people-oriented to system-oriented. In her current profile, she also specializes in data privacy law. She has a flair for writing and has contributed numerous articles for various newspapers and magazines, both national and international. She is a regular author for various websites. Welcome, CA Priya Madrecha.
Thank you, Smriti, for the wonderful introduction. I welcome all of you for this session. This Sky High Symposium has really been helping a lot of women to improve their soft skill as well as technical skill. It is my pleasure today to share my thoughts on practice management software. How is it a necessity for improving and scaling up your practice? Let's get started. One second. A quick disclaimer before we start. All logos are copyright of respective companies. Recommendations about any software is my personal opinion. Consider this as editor's choice. Use your professional skepticism while choosing any software for your firm. So what all topics will we be covering today? Which systems need to be implemented in a firm? How will you create tasks and track those tasks? How do we track efficiency of team members? And finally, any firm is incomplete without billing. So every process that is being done in an organization is finally to receive money from your clients. Now you might be wondering that someone old should be talking about this topic. Why me? Talking about my experience, I have an experience of working across multiple organizations. I have done my articleship at a firm where when we started, we were a team of 12 people. And by the time I completed my articleship, we were a team of 40. So I have seen team going from 12 to 40 people. And when we started, we were doing everything manually. And in the interim, we had many systems being implemented. There were failure, there were success, and finally we could implement some solutions. Thereafter, I have worked with KPMG, where we had a team size of 25,000 people across India. There we saw some of the most mature systems being implemented. Then at my dad's firm, in the past 5-6 years, we have grown from a team to 15 to 20. Though there is not much significant increase in the team size, but the increase in the volume of business is significant. We have grown multiple times with a limited team. And this was possible because we have systems set in place. Systems that could take care of the increase in revenue as well as the increase in workload. That was my personal experience, and now my interactive experience. I have had the pleasure of interacting with more than thousands of CAs across various fraternities. In this session, we shall be covering what all things we need to see, what all things we should be thinking when we are implementing a solution. How do we decide on any particular solution? What are the factors that needs to be considered? How do we practically implement that system? And then office tips and tricks for making that system a successful one. So most of us have come from a firm where we have seen that the processes are largely driven by people. It is time that if we want to scale up in this era of digitization, having proper systems in place is a must. It is important that we shift our processes from being people oriented to system oriented. For example, if I ask my team member how many GST returns are to be filed in this month, current month, so how confident are you that if you ask the same question to 3 different team members and all 3 will come up with a common answer? It is quite possible that all 3 of them will come with different numbers. So that's where the system comes in place. When they are answering different, that means that they are not referring to a common source of information. Each and every firm has some system implemented in place. No matter wherever you are at the journey of implementing a solution, it is important that you take regular halts, evaluate the progress made so far, and decide on the next course of action. It is possible that you might have just thought about implementing a solution. You are at a very nascent stage. Everything is being managed manually. Or you might be at a stage where already you have systems in place. You are halfway through the proper or a perfect organization, what we talk about. Even there, you will have to evaluate which system, which team member is using, how are you tracking their efficiency, how much time is being consumed for a particular task, what is the billing that is being done. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that it is important to take regular breaks and evaluate the progress made in every organization. Without that, our system cannot be a success. Now, talking about some of the features which are required in a good system. These are the bare minimum basic features which I feel are essential for a system to work. You need to provide information to your team members for proper reviewing and working. And at the same time, it is even more critical that you provide information. You do not provide that information to those team members who do not need it. So what I am trying to say is that the information needs to be shared with the right people. And at the same time, it has to be undisclosed from the people who are not supposed to see it. A proper mechanism for sharing of information needs to be in place in your organization. In larger organization, it is not technically possible for you to get involved in each and every engagement. You will need to have a bird's eye view of what all engagements are going on in your organization and identify the key engagements that need your attention. Because if you go on getting involved in each and every assignment, then you will not achieve the maximum efficiency or maximum output, we say. Some things need to be left to team members for them to handle it and getting it done. Like we were talking earlier, that if you ask the same question to multiple team members and you get the same answer, then they are referring to a common source for getting that information. In the earlier example, we talked about that if you ask your team members how many GST returns are to be filed in a month, and they come with a common number, say 90, then they all are referring to the same place where they should refer. Then the single source of truth again connects back to managed sharing, wherein it is essential that you provide team members the information that they need for working and properly managing. Because if you give them incorrect information or inappropriate, less information, then they'll start creating their own set of information, which is not recommended for any firm. In our profession, due dates are always set either by the government or department, you can say, or the clients. We chartered accountants are not at the liberty of setting our own due dates. So it becomes important that each and every team member is aware of which task needs to be completed before which due date. And he should come to you saying that this task has been done, it had to be done by this date, and this is already done. Because if you waste your time in tracking the due dates, then you'll not be able to track which team member has done what. The team members themselves need to have visibility of which task needs to be done before which due date. This is how you can achieve maximum efficiency for your organization. Team collaboration. So, any guesses what is this? Anyone? So this is basically a Formula One pit stop car. Yeah, and during the course of the race, the racer brings his car to a halt wherein all the 4 tires are changed and the entire fuel tank is refilled. So any idea on how much time does this process of changing the 4 tires and refueling the entire fuel tank takes? Anyone? You might be guessing minutes or seconds. It takes less than 2 seconds. Less than 2 seconds for the entire process of changing the 4 tires and refueling the entire fuel tank. You can Google it or maybe see on YouTube. So can you imagine the level of efficiency that the team as a whole might have achieved? So here, basically, each and every individual team member is aware of what exactly they need to do. When the car comes to the point, what are they supposed to do? From where are they supposed to pick up the car, replace the tire, make it run fast? And as a team also, they are aware of what needs to be done. So it is important that the team members are aware of their own work, and at the same time, they are aware of what they need to do as a team. Yeah, they should be aware of their own actionable, and for the organization to achieve the highest level of efficiency, they should be aware of the efficiency of the actionables of the entire team as well. Transparent actionables. Now, see, if you assign any team member any work, you have given 40 GST returns to one employee. What does this signify? That employee will feel that this task is humongous. 40 GST returns in a month, and मतलब वो 40 GST returns भी within a short span of time करना रहता है. ऐसे भी नहीं कि you have the whole month to do it. Hardly few days होते हैं जिसमें आपको वो पूरा task complete करना है. But at the same time, अगर उनको पता चलता है, if they get to know that the other team member has been assigned, say, 42 tasks, 42 GST returns for the same month. So that time what they'll feel कि अरे हाँ ये तो easily हो जाएगा. It is achievable. मतलब उसको 42 मिला है, he can do that, then I can do 40. So it is important that the team members have visibility on the work expectation of not themselves, but also of the other team members' work. This will inculcate healthy competition among the team's members, and competition in most cases improves productivity and efficiency. Now we need to track always the time taken for a particular assignment to be completed. You are tracking this every month. Say your task is taking 2 hours to complete or maybe 5 hours to complete. But what will you do with just that information? At the same time, you should know ki how much time the same task has taken in the previous month to be completed. Then only you will be able to draw some meaningful conclusions out of it and take corrective actions. If there is a significant change in the time taken, say GST return this month was taking 1 hour and in the last month it took around 20 minutes, then there can be two scenarios. Either your team member is inefficient and they need proper training to do that work, or the second scenario could be the client's work has increased so much that it calls for a revision in the fee. मतलब मे भी हो सकता है कि उसके रिटर्न्स में कुछ कॉम्प्लिकेशंस आ गए हैं या anything could have happened. मतलब उसका turnover बढ़ गया है, anything that is taking this more time. So this evaluation is important for you to take corrective actions. Then मतलब किसी भी organization में just going on working, this is not how the entire organization should be. कि आप every month on month, एक month के बाद दूसरे month just you are chasing the due dates and last तक मतलब due date के दिन तक just running behind it to get that task completed. It is important for you to take halt. आप उसको evaluate करो, progress made at regular intervals. मतलब every 3 month, quarterly, or maybe if quarterly is not possible for your organization, तो every 6 month उसे trace करो. Track the progress made. So only you will be able to judge कि any corrective actions are needed, you are going on the right track. If this calls for a celebration, मतलब इस quarter में सब कुछ perfect रहा है, we could do every work well before the due date. Team members की efficiency अच्छी रही है, client की billing productivity, everything has been good. So this we should celebrate the achievement of goals, and for that a proper mechanism has to be in place to track the progress actually made on a timely basis. Now, all said and done, the theory is good, but how do we practically implement a solution? What is the most difficult part that we will be facing when we try to implement in any system? Is it resources? I guess money will not necessarily be the most difficult thing, because you are, before implementing a system, you have well evaluated the options and you have selected the option that fits within your budget. The most difficult part in any system, actually implementing it and making it successful, will be the human angle. Now, the only way, resistance to change is nothing new. We all are resistant to change. We do not want to accept change easily. And the only way to overcome this resistance to change is through proper coaching, teaching, imparting knowledge, and training to the team members. Why is there a resistance to change? क्योंकि काफी बार ऐसा लगता है टीम मेंबर को, what if I do not know how to use the new system? What if मतलब अगर दूसरे लोगों को आ गया, मुझे नहीं आया, तो it will look so embarrassing कि मतलब I do not know how to do this thing वगैरह. तो इसीलिए वो चेंज एक्सेप्ट करने से ही मना कर देते हैं कि कोई चेंज ही नहीं है तो न्यू क्वेश्चन ऑफ लर्निंग वगैरह ही नहीं है. तो उनके लिए आपको मेंटली यू नीड टू प्रिपेयर योर टीम मेंबर्स. You need to tell them a proper guiding training, everything will be given, and the systems that are being implemented is for the overall benefit of the organization and not for just the owners, proprietors, or partners. If there is a proper system in place, the team members are bound to benefit from it. task management. So how do you actually get work done? I'll give you some tips on task tracking. Each and every work that you are doing in your organization that needs to be tracked, no matter how small or big it is. Even if it is a small work, like आप कुछ certification work, certificates वगैरह कुछ sign कर रहे हो, 15G 15H forms वगैरह कुछ कर रहे हो, या फिर statutory audit कर रहे हो, bank audit कर रहे हो, every work needs to be tracked to ensure that there is no revenue leakage. And if we are tracking each and every task, everybody is filling the timesheets, everybody is capturing the time taken on a particular engagement, then we will be able to get the holistic timesheet of the entire organization as well. At the organization level, we can judge how much time has been spent on which task. Then giving a unique identifier for each task is important. We should not dissect task into smaller tasks unnecessarily. Matlab, you need to divide tasks further only if it is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, just creating on small tasks becomes all the more complicated, because you need to keep track on those many more tasks, whether they are being completed or not, whether they have moved to the next stage. So everything has to be tracked, and this unnecessarily becomes extra work if it is not required. Having this kind of calendar is essential for all the team members. This will help the team members to plan their things on a daily basis. Say if I am on the 2nd of a month, I am standing on the 2nd, yahan pe I know ki on the 1st there was a task which had to be done, but it is not yet done. I'll know that today I need to see what is the status of that task. And similarly, I can see that on 3rd, there are 5 tasks which needs to be done. So today only I can evaluate कि उन 5 tasks का progress क्या है. Are those in a position कि वो कल तक complete हो जाएंगे? Or मतलब any further action is required, whether we'll be able to do it, not able to do it. And similarly, if you see on 8th, so यहाँ पे there is one task which is stuck. The notes are added at the down, what each symbol indicates. So there is one task which is stuck. So this will help you to identify today standing on 2nd. You can see that that task is already stuck and it is due on 8th. So you can see the reasons why it is stuck. If the client is not sending information or your team members are not doing accounting, you have received incorrect information, he is not paying tax, whatever the reason is. If you know the reason, you will be able to take corrective action. So I am saying that you need to have this. Each and every team member needs to have this calendar on a daily basis. When they come to the office, they need to see this calendar before starting their day, so they know what is to be done. And this calendar is essential for each and every team member. Along with that, as an owner, proprietor, partner, you need to have access to the calendar of the entire organization. Then only you will be able to take some actions wherein required. This kind of dashboards give me an idea of what all things are happening in my organization. How many tasks are going for a particular work? Like if you see GSTR 3B, how many tasks are going, how many are done, how many are pending. So if they are pending, why are they pending? Previous month, how many tasks were there? This dashboard is important at the organization level, individual level, but also at the manager or the partner level. Because for a manager it is not helpful कि मतलब वो he sees the dashboard, मतलब पूरे organization में क्या क्या चल रहा है, क्या pending है, उसके लिए it makes no sense. उसके लिए it will be helpफुल only if he is able to capture of his own team. उसकी टीम में क्या क्या चल रहा है, क्या pending है, that he needs to be aware. Similarly, अगर कोई junior team member है, उसको अगर सब कुछ पूरे entire organization का दिख रहा है, तो again it makes no sense for him. For him, it will be useful only if he is able to see the task relating only to him. And for a partner or an owner, it will be helpful ki he is aware of the everything going in an organization. He should have bird's eye view of the entire organization again, so that he can identify which engagements need his attention. That's why these filtering capabilities are required, whether you want to see of yourself, your team, or the entire organization. So this is basically how many tasks have been assigned to team members, how many of them are still open. So tracking team members' tasks in this fashion helps you to identify which team member has how many open tasks, whether they are lacking behind, they are progressing on the right track, and also if required, you can then reshuffle the task. So if you can see that over here, Dhanashri and Kajal, they have more tasks, 292 and 280 open tasks as compared to other team members. So here Krutika has only 31 tasks. If need be, you can reshuffle the task between other team members to ensure the organization achieves overall efficiency. So this is showing you how many tasks are due on which date. I have selected a period of 15 days, say from 1st to 15th or 1st to 17th. Knowing which team member has how much task due on which date is critical. I will get an idea of how many tasks are due for a particular team member, and need be, I can again reshuffle the task amongst other team members, or I can judge their efficiency. If they are progressing slow, I can question them what is the problem they are actually facing and what actions do they need. Is it something from the client side that the client is not providing data or anything, or is it something that is lacking in our organization, ki systems are slow or website is working slow, anything. So knowing which team member has how much pressure of due date is critical. So I can relatively reshuffle the task among other team members at the organization level. Moving further, how do we track efficiency? Timesheets and actual tracking, how much time was required to be taken and how much time is actually taken. Filling in timesheets. This is a process which many small firms or mid-sized firms do not yet follow. No matter whether you have a proper system in place or not, filling timesheets should be mandatory. You should be encouraging this practice right from day one for each and every team member. It should not just for junior team members. The purpose is not कि आप track कर रहे हो कि आपके juniors ने या articles ने whether they have actually done the work, वो कितने घंटे दिन के काम कर रहे हैं. The purpose is to achieve the efficiency of the entire organization. मतलब time sheet should be filled right from a junior team member to the senior most partner. And timesheet should always be filled at the task level and not at the client level. Again, each and every team member should be filling it out irrespective of his position. And if you do not plan to use that timesheets to make analysis or make some reports, then it is a waste. You are encouraging your team to fill the timesheet so that at the month end you can sit and evaluate. Acha, this client took my so many hours. This client took say 60 hours of my resources. So is it actually worth it? Is the work of this client so big that I need to devote so much hours? Am I getting sufficient revenue out of that? This all analysis you need to do. If you are not able to draw out any conclusions from this timesheets, then anyways filling this timesheets is a waste of effort for your team. So this again connects back to efficiency tracking. So now to track things in your office, if you see that this accounting work was taking 20 hours in June 2017, and now in 2020 it is taking more than 40 hours. So the number of hours that are spent for accounting work of this client has doubled. The question that comes over here is there a significant increase in the revenue as well? Our team members' efforts have doubled, but has the revenue doubled? So if not, then there is something wrong. You need to evaluate it. Either you are charging less from that client, or your team members have again become inefficient, for which you need to take training and impart them regular sessions. And also, when you talk about tracking, I believe that tracking has to be stepwise and not overall on an ad hoc basis. So if any particular task has, say, 5 steps involved, if you say of written filing only, if you are doing income tax written filing, then maybe you can say that there are 5 steps in that. You will first call information from the client, and then maybe do entries in your office, then calculate his tax, make him pay tax, and finally the written filing process. So it is important to evaluate which work is pending at which stage. Like information has been called for how many clients and for how many it is pending. Similarly, for tax filing is pending for how many clients, how many has already filed the tax, for how many it is pending. The same thing has been presented on a data form, chart form, to help you track better efficiency. Just going on working will no longer solve the purpose. It is important that you make analysis on a regular basis. You need to take time out for those things, because unless you are doing proper analysis and evaluating, then whether your team members are going on the right track or they are lacking behind, you will not be able to judge. Attendance. Different firm follow different mechanism for tracking attendance of the team members. In attendance, what you are doing over here is you are tracking the average in time of the team members. So if you see that there is one team member, Smruti, whose average login time is always after 11 on an average, whereas all the team members are logging in before 11. So there is something wrong with this team member. Why is she repeatedly late? On a daily basis, you cannot evaluate all these things. It is not possible only कि आप हर एक एम्प्लॉय का रोज लेके बैठोगे कि आज लेट आए, जल्दी आए वगैरह, या टाइम पे आए. So average time helps. Monthly basis पे it is possible. In a month, one day you can track and you can remove out the average time. Okay, this person on an average of 25 days in a month, he was late for maybe overall late only. This again ties back to my earlier point of bird's eye view, where I was saying that instead of pinpointing on a daily basis, okay, you have come late today, why have you come late, what is the reason? If you have more statistics in front of you, you can directly question them. See, in this month, you have come late on an average for majority of the days. What is the reason for it? It will again help you to save your time and efforts both. Billing. Like we said earlier, any organization is incomplete without billing. And when we talk about billing, it is important to analyze the profitability as well. It is not just कि हाँ task complete हो गया तो bill issue करना है and our work is done. Unless we actually receive money from the client, our work is not done. Just completing the task and issuing invoice does not bring in revenue for the firm. And revenue आने के बाद भी, we need to analyze whether we are actually profitable. This will not be the concern of junior team members. उनका इतना ही role होता है. Every team member has different roles in an organization. So juniors are all concerned about just doing the work, whatever is assigned to them. As a manager, it is his responsibility to get the work done. If he himself is not doing it, his team as a whole should do the work and achieve highest efficiency. But as an owner or a partner, it is your responsibility कि सिर्फ काम होना नहीं चाहिए. It is not just about getting things done or whether things are being on date. It is also important that how profitable your organization is, how profitable your engagements are. And each and every engagement that we do it with the intention of getting some profit out of it. There are some engagements obviously which we do as a non-profit, मतलब किसी के लिए हम कुछ कभी कर देते हैं. I'm not talking about those engagements, but whatever you do that has to bring in some profit to your organization. And whenever you talk about profit, you need to analyze at the engagement level. मतलब if you are doing one task, whether that task is built properly and whether that task is profitable or not. In some cases, rare cases, वो possible होगा कि this task is not profitable. But then the entire at the client level, it has to be profitable. अगर उसका suppose some client is coming with us, उसका हमारे पास बड़ा account है, we are doing every kind of work for him. Accounting, maybe written filing, उसके लिए हम और भी सब काम करते हैं. तो it is important. कुछ एक दो सर्टिफिकेट्स हमने उसको फ्री में करके साइन करके दे दिए होंगे, तो दैट टाइम दैट थिंग इज नॉट प्रॉफिटेबल. बट एट द क्लाइंट लेवल हिज एंगेजमेंट हैज टू बी प्रॉफिटेबल. क्लाइंट लेवल और ग्रुप लेवल में भी यू कैन से, बिकॉज नॉर्मली इन मिड साइज फॉर्म्स वी हैव द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ ग्रुप, जहाँ पे हम हस्बैंड वाइफ सन डॉटर वगैरह पूरे फैमिली का काम करते हैं. एंड वेदर इट इज प्रॉफिटेबल और नॉट, हाउ विल यू जज इट? For this, you judge expected billing amount and the time-based cost. मतलब what is the amount you expect from this engagement and actually में कितना time लगने वाला है उस engagement को. For getting time-based cost, you can multiply timesheet into the ability rate of the respective team members, क्योंकि every team member will have different efficiency level. उनकी chargeability rate अलग होगी. So it is important कि every team member is filling in the time sheet और हर एक को आपने एक cost assign किया है, तो ही you will be able to get out of it कि exactly मतलब उन्होंने क्या किया है, कितने hours spend किए हैं वो hours. ठीक है, फिर on any assignment हमारे एक articles if they are spending 5 hours and if a manager is spending 1 hour, तो maybe that 1 hour will be more worth in terms of revenue या money than the 5 hours of the article. So the point that I am trying to make here is that हर एक टीम मेंबर की चार्जेबिलिटी रेट अलग होती है, एंड फॉर एनालाइजिंग वेदर एनी टास्क इज प्रॉफिटेबल और नॉट, हमें सबकी चार्जेबिलिटी रेट, सबका टाइम जो स्पेंड हुआ है उस असाइनमेंट के पे, everything needs to be considered and then a holistic conclusion needs to be drawn. Then if you ask me which practice management software should actually be considered, you can Google it out, and these are few of the softwares that I have got it. There are obviously other software as well. Communication. Now, what do you use for communication in your office? मतलब internal office communication के लिए आप क्या use करते हो? I'm not asking you how do you communicate with your clients. Maybe you may have different means, phone calls or emails or WhatsApp or messages. For your internal team communication, majority of us use WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is not at all recommended. Why? Because it mixes personal and office work. It is not just possible if you are telling a team member, you are giving him some work, send this message to the client once it is completed. If he opens his mobile, he goes into the WhatsApp, it is not like he'll not do that work. He'll definitely do it. He'll send message to the client. But what about the time that is spent on reading other messages as well, which were not required to be read during office hours? He'll read personal messages, and every one of us is involved in so many groups, at least 50 groups we are a part of, and not all groups are muted. Even if it is muted, you will get that notification, you will open it, read it, waste time in that. So for office communication, especially for large groups, it leads to loss of focus as well. You should not be preferring WhatsApp as a means of communication. Then what should be your means of communication? there are options available like Discord, Microsoft Teams, Slack. For internal office communication, I personally recommend Discord if it is a small or mid-sized firm, because Discord has a free version which very well takes care of many of our requirements. So you need not necessarily go for something paid for a communication module. Discord is specifically created for team communication. You can share files over it, send messages, receive messages, and you can also track which message has been read, on which message action has been taken. You can do permission management, create separate channels in it. Could chats hai sensitive chats, like we were talking about managed sharing, in that we said that some information are such which cannot be shared with every team member. So you can manage all those sensitive chats. It has obviously amazing search and filtering capabilities, like you can search even which chats I missed off yesterday, which chats today. Each and every team member can filter it. A manager can see for his entire group. And if you are using emails for your internal team communication, then I'll say that that is again a bad idea. If you send so many emails, you are bound to miss out some emails. And those missed out emails can even be the important ones. So email should only be used as an external means of communication. For your client communication, you can use it. But internal team communication, which is more of an informal nature, Discord is the best, I would suggest. So do you have a common email for your office? By email, I mean that when you send email to clients, do you use a common ID for sending email and for receiving those emails? Many of us do use it. But how do we track it? Matlab, on a daily basis, we will be receiving so many emails at the organization level. How do we keep a track that something is not missed? Some important email which was not supposed to be missed, wo miss out hua ya nahi? Quite possible we can miss out so many. Because what usually happens is, like these days, we give our own email IDs, office email IDs at the department level also on behalf of our clients. So we keep on getting so many emails on a daily basis relating to clients. Some are relevant, some are not relevant. For that, what I have personally implemented is a Freshdesk. Freshdesk is a ticketing tool. And if you look at the pricing, you'll find it costly, but the free version of Freshdesk will very well take care of the needs of small and mid-sized firms. यहाँ पे there will be a common email ID from which the emails will go from your office to the client, and they will be received in a common email ID. But then there are many features in this. You can track actually who has sent that email. The agent's name and all can be tracked. Again, if you want to put some comment internally, you don't want that message to go to the client, there are options for that as well. And all those are covered in the free version. I do not recall the exact number, but I guess people with 10 to 15 can even use it, the free version. You can create separate agents. Each agent can use it in their own system. They can send from a common ID, receive from a common ID. At the same time, their names will come who has shared it. You can internally chat over those emails. So I have kept the last 10 minutes free for any questions that you may have. Anyone, any question?
Priya, hi, this is Sonia here. I will be collecting all the questions from our audiences. So in their chat window, there will be a place where they can ask questions. And if you all have any questions, please put those across. So I will consolidate and ask our speaker. In the meantime, I had one question to ask you. You suggested Discord for internal communication. But like, what would you suggest for a client communication? And
For client communication, if you want a formal communication, then emails are always the best. Because
Uh,
some things related to client, you'll always want it to be on record. So for that, emails will be the best. And for emails, like I suggested, instead of sending single emails from your system, it is always recommended that you have a ticketing system for your email.
I really like this idea of Fresh Desk where you use a ticketing model.
Yeah, and it is very simple to use. It does not require any formal training also. So I'll in fact recommend all the firms to at least give it a try.
And what was the system that you were showing in the beginning, like for all the tracking of task and time? Is that one system does it all, or you use
So
multiple systems to do that?
no. So if you look at into any practice management solutions, the majority of them covers all these features. So one system will take care of all your office needs, right from compliance management, non-compliance management, how many GST returns are due in a month, how many have been done, how many are pending. If they are pending, then they are pending at what level, at your organization level or client level, then keeping track of your digital signatures. With whom are they lying? Are they with you, with the client or CS? Then billing, invoicing. So there's multiple things: attendance tracking, location of your team members, especially useful for those firms where articles go to audit places. So if you want to capture their location, then this everything can be taken care by a single office management software.
Okay. I know there are multiple international softwares like CCH, iFirm, and even a lot of Indian companies are also providing this type of software for CA firms. And I really understand, and I feel that small practices, like when I started as an individual chartered accountant back like 10 years back, there was a lot of learning curve that you have to deal in when while um, growing your practice. So my question is, like, do you use what software would you recommend, if you can provide us for the audience? That will be great help in shortlisting, or at least seeing what all softwares are available in the market, one, and second, what is recommended by an expert like you.
Actually, I will not be able to recommend on any system. There are pretty good products available in the market. So basically, the requirement of every CA firm is different. What requirement I have, you might not have the same requirement. You may want to track very few things, or you want to track more things than what I want to track. So what you can do is, when you are in the process of implementing a solution, look out for 4 or 5 products. Take a demo of every software. So usually this all softwares provide you a free demo. The demo process usually takes around less than an hour for one software. So when you evaluate all the products, you might also get more clarity in that process ki what exactly are your office requirements and which software is able to fulfill that requirement. So these are some of the few products that I can recommend, but it is your personal choice which one you want to implement. Have a demo of all the product, take an informed decision. And when you are in the process of taking the demo, my suggestion would be that you involve your team as well, because ultimately this cannot be successful without the team. As we spoke earlier, the cooperation for the team is necessary, and if you involve them right from the beginning stage, they will feel ki ha, even we are being considered, हमें पूछा जा रहा है कि what is important. Otherwise what mentality they have is कि अरे ये system implement कर रहे हैं, time sheets वगैरह भरना पड़ेगा, पता चल जाएगा कि मतलब exactly हम लोग कितने घंटे काम कर रहे हैं, क्या काम कर रहे हैं. जबकि time sheets ही purpose नहीं है software का. ओवरऑल एफिशिएंसी इंप्रूव हो, ईच एंड एवरी टीम मेंबर को और ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को एज अ होल बेनिफिट हो. दैट इज व्हाई वी आर लुकिंग फॉर अ सॉल्यूशन.
And many people down the line, on a ground level, they might fear that we are being tracked. Our what we are doing in office is being tracked closely.
Exactly.
So that brings a lot of resistance from the team to implement the softwares. So very good points. Do we have any other questions in the audience? Please share the software name. Miss the initial part of the session. So Prajakta Shingvekar is asking this question. please share the software name. So Prajakta, I hope
like I said, I have not suggested any name. It is for you to evaluate the products available. आप एक Google search करो CA practice management software, you will get a list of many software. I guess around 15 to 20 softwares are available in the market Indian audience के लिए. So depending on your budget, your requirements, आप उसमें से 5-6 evaluate कीजिए, and then you can take an informed call which will satisfy your needs.
Meena Jalan is asking another question. Is the software free? Whatever
I
software.
don't really think so.
You said Discord is free for
Yeah, yeah.
small time practitioners. But I think all of these options, like for practice management, they would be chargeable. But
Yeah, even some practice management software are free for team size of say less than 3 users, less than 5 users. Some are giving a free version. But then because practice management solution is something which is very wide, it has many features. And if you get a free version, you need to first check with the vendor whether they'll provide technical support. Because ये ऐसे type का software है कि you cannot use it on your own without receiving a proper training. So unless training नहीं है, आप free version वगैरह लेके कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते हो. जबकि दूसरे जो software, like you do not need a training session for using WhatsApp. आप खुद से ही वो यूज कर सकते हो. यू नो प्रीटी सिंपल हाउ इट इज, उसको क्या यूज करना है, क्या करना है. सिमिलरली डिस्कॉर्ड, फ्रेश डेस्क, ये चीजें आप खुद से कर सकते हो. उनका पर्पस सिर्फ एक ही है. जैसे डिस्कॉर्ड इज फॉर टीम कम्युनिकेशन, फ्रेश डेस्क इज फॉर ईमेल सेंडिंग. लेकिन प्रैक्टिस मैनेजमेंट सॉफ्टवेयर के मल्टीपल पर्पस होते हैं, डिफरेंट मॉड्यूल्स होती है. So it is not possible for you to use the software on your own by just taking the software. Some sort of training, guidance, matlab in the initial implementation phase, because you are bringing a system change. Implementing a solution is a system change for the entire organization, and it is not a short-term change. ऐसा नहीं है कि you are implementing it for this year, देखेंगे next year से वापस बंद हो जाएगा, बंद कर देंगे, ओरिजिनल हम एक्सेल शीट्स वगैरह पे शिफ्ट हो जाएंगे. एक बार आपने implement किया तो that will go on from for a long duration of time. मतलब team members may come and go, लेकिन जो system है in place that will continue. This is how Big Four and everyone is working. वहां पे on an average मतलब कितने ज्यादा ये होते हैं turnouts. Every week some or the other employee is leaving, but system पे कभी effect नहीं होता है. Everything is working on smoothly because they have the matured systems in place. No matter whatever team member is going and coming and going, लेकिन उनके systems proper है. Whenever a new person joins, he is able to continue and resume from there.
So I think with this, we conclude all the questions. Any free office management software recommended for a small firm? Again, from Meena. So Meena, yeah, we have taken this question, and the options are available on screen. And what our speaker is saying is, we need to do our evaluation for our firm requirements, because every firm is different in the way of how they want to track and what drill down information you need for your firm. So do a Google search, take the demo and select the software. But yeah, so we have taken all the questions, and on behalf of Women Empowerment Committee, I would like to thank CA Priya for taking the session. I was listening to the session and I was reminding of the movie The Founder. If anybody has seen it, that exactly shows how to run a business. And in that movie, they have shown how McDonald's grew as a chain of business from one small business, from one shop to all the multiple thousands of shops that they run now. So, and that is called as the biggest small business in the world. So that exactly is what CA Priya has covered. For all our small practitioners, what we need is to implement those systems in our practice so that we can focus on working in our business rather than working in our business, working in the business. So with this, I would like to extend a great thank you for your time. and for taking the session and enriching us with all the knowledge that you have. And definitely, if anybody implements it into into their own firm, we'll see how we can have more efficiency built into our team members, how we can even run run our work without even being involved in the business. So the idea is not to run, not to work in the business, but to work on the business, and systems just help us to do just that and grow our firms. Moving on to our next session, I would like to call CA Mitali Jain to introduce our next speaker on the topic of tackling of notices after GSTR 9 and 9C. Thank you so much for your time, CA Priya, and let's move to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia Dava. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for your valuable time, Priya ma'am. It was a great session. Now let's begin with our next interesting session. It's an immense pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mrs. Kusum Gandhi, who is a fellow chartered accountant of ICAI since November 1995. She has done her diploma in IFRS from ACCA, UK. She is a faculty member of ICAI for seminars and records lectures for ICAI students on subjects like GST, GMCS, and audit. She is also an eloquent speaker on various forums, including ICAI, ICWA, and CS study circles. She has vast working experience of around 24 years in manufacturing industries like automobile and chemicals. She has sound knowledge in SAP and has been actively involved in the implementation of SAP in the manufacturing industry, and she was also actively involved in the implementation of internal finance control, GST, and NDS in the SAP environment. Here, now I welcome you, ma'am, to share your knowledge and experience with us. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Mitali, for giving such a wonderful introduction. And thanks to the Women Members Empowerment Committee for giving me this opportunity. Good evening to all of you. Today, we will have a discussion on how to tackle the GST notices after filing of GSTR 9 and 9C. Today, we will discuss the meaning of notice, the various types of notices, reasons for sending the notices, and the various modes of sending the notices, and how we will check the validity of the notice, which is very important, and how we reply various types of notices. What is notice? The meaning of the notice. As per the Cambridge English Dictionary, the notice means to see or become conscious of something, to bring someone to the attention of information or a warning given about something that is given to happen in near future. The GST notices are basically the communications by the GST authorities. Notices are given as a word of caution for any defaults noticed by the GST authorities for any GST compliance, or to collect more information from the taxpayers. These notices are called by different names such as show cause notice, demand notice, or the scrutiny notice. The purpose of the notice, intensity of default committed, or the action required from the taxpayer will determine what a GST notice will be called, whether it will be called as a show cause notice, scrutiny notice, or the demand notice. In this, the taxpayer should respond promptly to the notice issued to his name within a specified period of time. Otherwise, the GST authorities will take a legal action and it will be treated as a purposeful default, and the taxpayer will be charged with the penalty. Next, we will discuss about the various reasons for sending the notices to the taxpayers. There are various reasons for which the assessees are now getting the notices from the GST department. The reasons may be non-payment of GST liability or any short payment of tax with or without any intention to defraud. In this case, the assessee will get the show cause notice under Section 73 or under Section 74 of the CGST Act 2017. The assessee has got the refund wrongly made or without any intent to defraud. Show cause notice. ITC input tax credit wrongly availed or wrongly utilized. Where a business is liable to get the registration, but the assessee has not taken the GST registration, and due to this, he has not discharged the tax and the other liabilities. Any other inconsistencies in reporting of exports in GSTR 1 with the information available on the ICE kit. Inconsistent declaration in GSTR 1 and e-way bill. It may be quite possible that the e-way bills are raised. In so many cases, there is no requirement of creating the e-way bills, but where there is a requirement, it must be co-linked with the GSTR 1. Mismatch in details reported between GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. Difference in ITC claimed in GSTR 3B versus GSTR 2A or GSTR 2B. Delay in filing of GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B consecutively for more than 6 months. For furnishing any information related to the records to be maintained by the taxpayer, the GST authorities can want any type of the information from the taxpayers for the records maintained by the taxpayers or conduct of audit by the tax authorities. And where there is a reduction in the prices or the GST rates with effect from the date notified by the CBIC, but the concerned person has not reduced the prices due to these notifications, and by this a default is committed by the taxpayer for non-passing of the benefit of reduced prices of GST to the ultimate consumer. This practice is known as profiteering. There are various modes of sending the notices. The mode of sending the notices is also very important, that it will decide whether the notice is a valid notice or it is not a valid notice. The department can send the notice by hand delivery, directly, or by a messenger, or by a courier to the taxpayer or his representative. The notice can be sent by a registered post, speed post, or a courier with an acknowledgement addressed to the last known place of the business of the taxpayer, and also the communication to the email address which is mentioned on the GST portal. The notice must be available on the GST portal after logging in. The notice can be published in a regional newspaper which is being circulated in the locality, that of the taxpayer, based on the last known residential address of the assessee. If none of the above means is used, then the department can send the notice by affixing it on some prominent place at his last known place of the business or his residence. If it is also not found reasonable by the tax authorities, then they can also affix a copy of the notice on the notice board of the office of the concerned officer or the authority as a last resort. Next is types of GST notices. Now we will discuss which are the various types of the GST notices and the rules under which these notices are issued. The reply, in which type of the form will be given, and if the person not gives the reply within that particular time period which is mentioned in the notice or in the acts or rules, then it will be treated as a default on his part. So we will discuss now which form is issued for which type of the default and how much time is required to give the reply for that particular notice, and which form will be used for giving the reply. In GST, each and every type of the form is introduced for giving the reply. Suppose an assessee gets the notice in form REG 03 under Rule 9, Sub-Rule 2, which is for the additional information or the documents or the clarification which is related to the registration or the amendment or for the cancellation of the registration. Then the assessee is required to give the information in form REG 04, in which he will clarify all the doubts or all the questions which are asked in the notice and information and attached the relevant documents. This information must be given within 7 working days from the receipt of the notice. 7 working days from the receipt of the notice. Suppose an assessee does not give any reply within 7 working days, then what will be the consequence of not responding? His application will be rejected and he will be intimated electronically in form REG 05. Next notice is for the show cause notice for the cancellation of GST registration. This information will be given to the assessee in form REG 17, Rule 20, Sub-Rule 22, Rule Sub 1, and its reply will be given in form REG 18. This reply must be given within 7 working days from the date of the service of the notice. If he does not give, then his registration will be cancelled.
ऐसे ना होता कि वो अगले साल लिए वो तो जो आपका बैलेंस पोर्टल का क्रेडिट लेजर का होता है वो होता
His registration will be cancelled and he will be intimated in form REG 19. Show cause notice will be given for the rejection of application for the revocation of cancellation of registration. This notice will be given in form REG 23, Rule 23, Sub-Rule 3. And for this, the reply must be submitted in REG 24 within 7 working days from the date of the service of the notice. If he does not give the reply within this period, then the cancellation of GST registration will be revoked. If an assessee defaults in filing the returns like GSTR 1, GSTR 3B, GSTR 4, and GSTR 8, then he will get the notice in form GSTR 3A, Rule 68. His action will be required that he has to file the GST returns along with the late fees and interest, and all these returns must be filed within 15 days from the date of receiving the notice. And if he does not give the reply or he does not file all the returns, then the department will do the best judgment assessment including penalty under section 122 of the CGST Act 2017. For this, a standard operating procedure, a circular was also issued, number 129/48/2019, dated 24th December 2019, in which a standard operating procedure was mentioned for the non-filers of the returns. The process of non-filers of the returns was clearly mentioned in this circular. Next is the show cause notice on the rejection of the GST refund. It will be intimated through RFD 08, Rule 92, Sub-Rule 3. For this, the reply must be submitted in form RFD 09 within 15 days of the receipt of the notice. If it does not reply within 15 days of the receipt of the notice, then the rejection order will be given by the department in form RFD 06. ASMT 02, Rule 98, Sub-Rule 2, additional information which is required by the department for the provisional assessment under GST. Reply in form ASMT 03 with the documents. This reply must be given within 15 days of the service of the notice. If it does not reply, then application may be rejected, which is required for the provisional assessment demanded by the assessee. ASMT 06, Rule 98.5, which is required for the additional information required by the department for the final assessment under GST. For this also, the reply must be given in form ASMT 03, which is to be given within 15 days of the service of the notice. And if it is not given, then the department will give the order in form ASMT 07 for the amount either to refund or to pay. Next type of the notice is for intimating discrepancies in the GST return after the scrutiny. ASMT 10. Reply in form ASMT 11, giving reasons for the discrepancies. And this reply must be given within 30 days from the service of the notice, or if there is any time mentioned in the notice that the reply must be given within 15 days or within 7 days, then the reply must be given in that specified period of time which is mentioned in the notice. Now these days, the ASMT 10 is coming very frequently to the assessees. Then that otherwise the department will do the ex parte assessment. Assessment under section 63, which is called as best judgment assessment. For this, the department issues ASMT 14, Rule 100, Sub-Rule 2, appearance before the concerned authority, and it must be responded within 15 days of the notice. The assessment order in form ASMT 15. Notice for conducting the audit under section 65. For this, the notice will be issued in form ADT 01, Rule 101(2). For this, the person is required to attend in person or to produce the records within the time prescribed in the notice. Whatever be the time prescribed in the notice, for this, the assessee is required either to personally attend the date or produce the records. If he does not do any action, then it will be deemed that the taxpayer does not possess the necessary documents and the records which is required for the audit, and the proceedings shall be initiated accordingly by the department. DRC 01. DRC 01 is issued for the demand of the tax. It is a show cause notice for which the reply in form DRC 06, and if the payment is required, then the payment will be done in form DRC 03. It must be given within 30 days of the notice. If no action taken by the assessee, then the order will be passed with whatever be the details available with the department. Department will pass the order accordingly. In this, I will mention that before the service of the notice under DRC 01, the department issues a DRC 01A, which is a statement in which the department gives the detail of the tax, interest, and the penalty, which is required. In the part A of DRC 01A, issued to communicate the tax, interest, and penalty to the SSC. The SSC has the right either to pay the full amount via form DRC 03 or make the partial payment and make the declaration in part B of form DRC 01A. Before the service of the notice in DRC 01, the SSC has the option to make the payment, which is mentioned in the summary of the show cause notice, that is part A of DRC 01A. Each and every form, each and every notice has some meaning. So while replying the notice, the form must be taken care of. DRC 10. DRC 10 is given for the notice for the auction of goods under section 79 1B for paying the outstanding demand as per form DRC 09 as specified in the notice. And if the SSC does not give any reply, then the department will proceed with the auction and sale. DRC 11 is issued to the successful bidder. It is issued under Rule 144 Sub-Rule 5 and Rule 147 Sub-Rule 12. Action is the pay the bid amount within 15 days from the date of the auction. If he does not take any action, then the department will do the re-auction. DRC 13. DRC 13 is issued to a third person under section 79(1)(c). The SSC will deposit the amount specified in the notice and reply in form DRC 14. Response time, it is not applicable. If it does not do, then it will be deemed as a defaulter. DRC 16, Rule 147(1) and Rule 151(1). This notice is given for the attachment and the sale of the movable or immovable property or the shares under section 79. Then he is refrained from transferring or creating any charge on the assets for which the notice was given for the attachment, prosecution, and penalties. So today we will discuss how to reply various types of the notices. For this, it is very important to consider these points. First, we have to understand the business and the issues involved in that particular business. And then we will explain how the business operates. The facts should be simple and understandable. Confirm the facts along with documentary evidence and understand the relevant sections, rules, disputed period, the rules during the disputed period, its applicability to the facts of the case, and rebut all the allegations made in the show cause notice, and rules or circulars beyond the acts are invalid. We have to take care some points while making any reply for the notice. First, we will verify whether the notice is in the prescribed form. Then find out whether the alleged default is committed by the recipient or not, and whether the notice is self-explanatory or not. If it is not so, then write to the issuing authority to clarify. Do not assume anything. Do not reply hurriedly. First, ask the department to clarify the points which are not clear in the notice itself. Then start replying. Facts of the case are very important and it should be written first before writing a reply. Do not simply cite the case law. First, understand the case laws, the facts of the case, and the applicable ratio of that case with your case. And lastly, what exactly you expect from the authority to do, it should be mentioned, instead of merely mentioning that the notice is bad in law. So we will first check whether the notice is issued by the jurisdictional proper officer, central tax officer's jurisdiction, state tax officer's jurisdiction, division of the taxpayer between the center and the state, authority who initiated the action is empowered to complete the entire process of investigation, issuance of show cause notice, adjudication, and recovery. Cross empowerment is not allowed. For this, the Central Tax Officer's jurisdiction was notified by notification number 2/2017, dated 19th June 2017. And whether the officer who has issued the notice is also empowered to do so. For this, various circulars have been issued in which they have very much clarified that the superintendent, additional commissioner, joint commissioner, up to which level they have the authority to issue the notice. So we will have to check whether that particular officer, central tax, or the state tax officer, or the superintendent, he has the authority to issue the notice, and up to which monetary level he can issue the notice. If he has no authority to issue the notice, then it will not be treated as a valid notice and you are not required to give any reply on that notice. But if you will check the validity of the notice after starting any reply or taking any single action, then it will be treated as a valid notice, and you can't say after that that this notice is not a valid notice and we will not reply on that. And the most important thing is to check the document identification number, DIN number. This was introduced via circular number 122 and 128, dated 23rd December 2019. It is mandatory for all the communications with the taxpayers, including email communication. Means DIN number is mentioned on all the communications by the GST department. Any communication made without DIN, then it will be treated as invalid. But in certain exceptional cases, the notice or the letters can be issued without quoting DIN. You can also verify the DIN on the GST portal site. The notices must be issued within the time limit as prescribed in section 73, 74, and 76 of the CGST Act 2017. Rule 88C. Rule 88C has been introduced right now, in which how to deal with the various types of the difference in the liability reported in the statement of outward supplies and reported in return GSTR 3. Where in the case the tax payable as per outward supplies furnished in GSTR 1 or using the facility of invoice for teaching facility, and the return filed in GSTR 3B by such amount and such percentage as recommended by the council, then the registered person shall be intimated with that difference in Part A of Form DRC 01B electronically on the common portal, and this communication will also be sent to his email address. So whenever there is a difference in GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, immediately you will get a notice in Form DRC 01B Part A. In this, the registered person either pay the amount of differential liability as specified in Part A of Form DRC 01B along with the interest as per Section 50 through Form DRC 03 and share the details in Part B of DRC 01B electronically on the common portal, or furnish a reply electronically for the reasons for the difference in the liability in Part B of Form DRC 01B. But where any amount remains unpaid within the period specified, or where no explanation is given, or where the explanation is given, but that is not satisfactory to the department, then he will be found as a defaulter and the same amount can be recovered as per section 79 of the CGST Act 2017. As you are aware that in the initial stages of a GST implementation, GSTR 2A was not available. And moreover, the availability of the ITC as per GSTR 2A was provided under Rule 36(4). It was applicable only with effect from 9th October 2019. To clarify this thing, particularly related to the financial year 2017-18 and 18-19, they have issued a circular number 183/15/2022 on 27th December 2022. CS Sonia ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes. Can you clarify this circular? Which
Yeah,
type
sure, ma'am.
of problems they have mentioned and what is the solution for resolving these problems?
Yeah, sure. So you all know, Kusum ma'am have already discussed about the notices. The most of the notices which we are flowing is the differences between the ITC as emerging in the 2A and 3B. So this circular come up as a blessing for us all, as it's very difficult for us to make the officer understand if the ITC is not available in a 2A, even then we are eligible to get. Why? This circular is specifically for dealing in the differences between the ITC. And second foremost important thing is this pertain to the financial year 17-18 and 18-19. Now there is a rumor too ki it will be for the whether it will be applicable for 19-20, this is not yet resolved, but for 17-18 and 18-19, even though the ITC is not reflected, it means the invoice is not reflected in GSTR 2A, even then we are able to get the ITC as have been claimed by us through 3B, then it will be a challengeable one and we can easily get the claim for this. So in this clarification, in this circular, they have considered 4 important parts. Before this, I want to mention you that we know even it's an audit case, it's a scrutiny or investigation, whatever be the case in these 3 scenarios, every time, every officer will look into the 2A and the ITC claimed in the 3B. So wherever there is a difference, they take it as the difference. Difference means while we are filing GSTR 9.2, you all know in the table number 8, the ITC which is not reflecting in 2A, that will not be auto-populated in table 8.2. So we are going to come up with the notice from the department, you are claiming a more ITC as you are eligible. So now we can prove them, but which criteria, which reasons they have covered in these circular? Basically, they have considered 4. When the invoice is auto-populated or reflected in 2A, only when our supplier file GSTR 1. Everybody knows this. And when the GSTR 1 is filed, now the question is, when the GSTR 1 is filed, they have covered first thing is the GSTR supplier our supplier haven't filed GSTR 1, but they have paid the taxes. Even though they haven't filed GSTR 1, but they have paid the tax on it, which is a condition under section 16. And GSTR 2A, which we are saying they are come into the picture in as per 36(4). They come into the picture in October 2019. That's why this circular pertained to 2017-18 and 18-19. So the reason when 2A will not be auto-populated, it will not reflect the invoice. First scenario will be our supplier has not filed the GSTR 1. Secondly, has filed but forgot our GST our invoice. Third is haven't forget our invoice, but have shown our invoice instead of B2B as a B2C. And the fourth scenario will be instead of reflecting it in the B2C, he have mentioned it in the B2B, but not in my GSTN. An example, in my case, let's suppose instead of my GSTN, he mentioned the GSTN number of Kusum ma'am. In that scenario, that will not be, invoice will not be auto-populated in my tool. So these four are the, and these are the only reason where we are not getting our invoice reflecting in GST 2A. What they have said about these four criteria, if these are the four cases they have mentioned, you have to provide the para 4 in the circular, what have been mentioned in the para 4. In the para 4, they have mentioned that the officer shall first seek details from the registered person. Regarding what? Regarding all the invoices on which the ITC was availed by the registered person in his 3B, but was not reflecting in his 2A. So you can do that if the proper, you can provide all the invoices to the proper officer along with proof that you have made the payment. The criteria, all know, we are in the possession of the taxable invoice. We have received the goods. We have made the payment within the due date. We all know within 180 days, we have to make the payment. If all these criteria are meted, fulfilled, only then you will be eligible to get the ITC, even though it is not reflecting in the 2A. So the major point in this circular is they have covered, they have given the safety to us. But another thing also, this circular will not be applicable when, if the findings, any proceeding have been finalized. They have clear-cut mentioned in the circular that if any proceeding have been finalized, then you will not give the reference of this circular. If it's not in the final stage, then it will be okay, fine. And now for the another proof, I will let you know also in the GST portal, you all are having a one system provided by the department where we can communicate with the taxpayer. So it will be better if your supplier, basically in this circular, they want to cover all the genuine cases because of the error on the one part of the supplier doesn't lead to, basically we can say it's a deficiency or discrepancy on the part of the supplier, but it doesn't, that discrepancy doesn't lead to the loss to the recipient. For that, we have to make sure on the portal, we can communicate with the taxpayer by writing that your this much specific invoice is not reflecting in a 2A. What's the benefit of that in the litigation or in argument? It will, that communication on the portal with the your taxpayer will act as a addition or a benefit to you. So I think in this circular, everybody will be happy to know that now for 17-18 and 18-19, even though the invoices are not reflecting on a 2A, but all the other condition of section 16, they are duly complied with. Mostly the basic one are you must have copy of invoice with you, must have received the goods, and the payment have been made. In that scenario, you can take the claim. And in the fourth one scenario, when I'm saying the instead of my GSTN of Kusum ma'am is added, there can be another reason. Even in cases of branches, instead of one person having 2 or 3 GST numbers, the supplier inadvertently, instead of entering my Ludhiana Punjab GST number in Punjab, I am having 3 GST. And suppose instead of mentioning my 1 GST, he mentioned it in the another, then it's very easy. The supplier can give the declaration. Affidavit haven't claimed. If you are claiming the GST, one GST number, the another which it's reflecting, it's the duty of the officer to communicate to that jurisdiction officer to make sure both the assessee don't take the ITC. But I'm telling you, it's not, that is an independent action. It will not affect your case in this case. And now for ITC, if there is a gap of more than 5 lakh, then a certificate from the chartered accountant is also required. So in this case, I think another opportunity is emerging. So whenever there is a challenge, we all know GST is full of challenges, but I think say it's also a flood of opportunity for of us all. Now, while giving a certificate, as they have mentioned, you can get the certificates from the chartered accountant or a CMA. Now, can we give the certificate? What honors we have to see for that? So we have to take an affidavit from the supplier too. We have to communicate with that supplier. And the limit of 5 lakh is yearly for the ITC, not a supplier specific. Let me make sure you that too. It's not a supplier specific. Let's suppose I have claimed a ITC in the 3B of 20 lakh. And on the 2A, ITC auto-populated in my 2A is 12 lakh. Now the difference is 8 lakh. In this case, 8 lakh can pertain to one supplier, 8 lakh can pertain to 5 to 7 supplier too. In this case, I need a certificate from a chartered accountant or a CMA. But on the another case, if I claim ITC of 20 lakh, and on the other hand, in a 2A, auto-populated figure of a ITC for which I am eligible is 18 lakh. Now the difference is 2 lakh only. In that case, they don't need a certificate from a chartered accountant. So I think all these 4 points in the circular have been clarified. So I request Kusum ma'am to please proceed further. Kusum ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, now we will discuss about practically how to reply the various types of the notices and which type of the notices we are getting right now. ASMT 10. This is the format of the form GST ASMT 10. See Rule 99, Sub-Rule 1. Reference number, GSTN number, name, address, tax period, notice for intimating discrepancies in the return after scrutiny, which we have already discussed, which type of the notice is given for what purpose, what is required, what is the requirement of the department. In this, the department says it is to inform you that during the scrutiny of the return for that particular tax period referred to above, the following discrepancies have been noticed, and you are hereby directed to explain the reasons for the aforesaid discrepancies by the date. And if no explanation is received by that date, then it will be presumed that you have nothing to say in the matter, and the proceedings will be done in accordance with the law against you without making any further reference in this regard. Signature, name, and the designation, which we have already discussed, that whenever you get the notice, first you will check the validity of the notice, the DIN number on that, reference number, the authority who is issuing that notice, whether he has the valid authority or not, he has the monetary limit to issue the notice. All these things will be checked by us. Then we will start the reply on various types of the notices. Suppose your SSC has got the notice in GST ASMT 10. Here you have mentioned that, here you can see that the DIN number is mentioned, folio number, rule, tax period, and the notice was given for intimating for discrepancies in the returns after scrutiny, in which the department is asking for 3 points, like you have availed the ITC on the invoices issued by the suppliers whose registration is cancelled retrospectively. Let's say the amount is rupees 12,384 rupees. For this particular period, 2018-19, availment of ITC on the invoices issued by the suppliers who have not filed their GST or 3B return, 688 rupees, and interest accrued on account of delayed filing of GST returns is 102 rupees. So you are hereby requested to explain the reasons for the aforesaid discrepancies within 15 days of the receipt of this letter. See here, it is very much clear that you are required to reply within 15 days of the receipt of this notice. If no explanation is received, then it will be treated that you have not to say anything about this matter, and the proceedings will be initiated against you. This notice was issued by Superintendent, GST and Central Excise, Bhubaneswar. So think how we will give the reply and in which form that reply will be given. So as we have got the notice in form ASMT 10, then the reply will be submitted in form GST ASMT 11, Rule 99, Sub-Rule 2. In this, we will mention first the GSTI name, detail of the notice, means the folio number, TIN number, date, and the tax period, which is also very important. In this, the tax period is financial year 2018-19. Reply to the discrepancies. The first question of the department was that you have availed the ITC on the invoices issued by the suppliers whose registration is cancelled retrospectively. The short amount is rupees 12,384. Then in that case, reply, how we will give the reply? First, we will say that the company is registered under CGST Act, IGST and the Odisha Goods and Service Tax Act, white GSTIN number. Then we will explain the business of the SSC, which type of the business is dealing. That this particular company is engaged in pure trading operations in the state of Odisha. The goods traded by are procured by the company directly from the suppliers upon the payment of the applicable taxes. It can also procure the stocks from its units also, that is, you can say, via stock transfers. So the discrepancy which is highlighted by your good self is ITC taken on the invoices whose registration is cancelled retrospectively. Then every time you have to mention that the company would like to submit that the company has made legitimate purchases and company possesses valid invoices for the same. The ITC has been availed, were duly reflected in GSTR 2A at the time of availment of ITC. In this case, we want to reiterate that most of the purchases are made directly from the suppliers on the payment of the taxes and having valid GSTI numbers. And when we have fetched the GSTR 2A from the GSTR portal related to the financial year 18-19, the company could not identify such transactions with the vendors whose registration has been cancelled retrospectively by the authorities for the amount which you have mentioned in the notice. For this, instructions have been issued by the department. The instruction number was 2/2022, dated 22nd March 2022, in which the standard operating procedure was mentioned for the scrutiny of the returns pertaining to the financial year 17-18 and 18-19. In this, 13 parameters were given. On that basis, the department is doing the return scrutiny. So we have taken only that part which is required for making the reply of this particular notice. Annexure B, indicative list of the parameters for the scrutiny of the said SOP is given for your reference, in which it is mentioned that the claim of the ITC of the suppliers from the taxpayers whose registration has been cancelled retrospectively, then in that case, the cancellation of the registration of a supplier, the recipient is not entitled to claim the ITC in respect of the invoices issued after the effective date of cancellation of registration. But the effective date of cancellation of registration of the supplier is made available in Form GSTR-2A. So it may be verified whether the registered person has availed any ITC in respect of such invoices or debit notes issued by the suppliers after the effective date of cancellation of the registration. For this, very well said, and a case law decided in Calcutta High Court in the case of Messrs. LGW Industries Limited versus Union of India, in which the Calcutta High Court ruled that if it is found that upon considering the relevant documents, all the purchases and transactions in questions are genuine and the SSE has the valid documents before the cancellation of the registration of those suppliers and after taking into consideration various judgments of the Supreme Courts and the High Courts, which have been referred to in this order, then in that case, the petitioner shall be given the benefit of input tax credit in question. So the ruling of the Calcutta High Court as well as the SOP will be attached for the department for their reference as Annexure A and Annexure B. Then the last we will say that on the above ground, the company humbly requests your good self to set aside the demand as raised herein above and obliges. Then reply for the second question. Second question was availment of ITC on the invoices issued by the suppliers who have not filed their GSTR-3B return. Short payment of GST INR 688. In this, we will also mention that the company lays strong emphasis on the requisite statutory compliances under various laws and duly comply with the same. This company strives for good corporate governance with strong internal controls. On the perusal of the GSTR-2A, when we have fetched from the GST portal, pertaining to the financial year 2018-19, the company couldn't identify the transactions where the counterparty return status was appearing as not submitted, which sums up to rupees 688 rupees. So we request your good self to kindly share with us the invoice-wise details of the invoices for which discrepancy has been highlighted. And again and again, we will request the department very humbly that you are requested to keep aside the amount and give us the breakup of the invoices so that we can give you the reconciliation. And the third point, which the department is always asking for the interest accrued on account of delayed filing of the GST. You know, so many times the return filing dates are extended. In the during the COVID period, dates were extended, but sometimes the department is not taking care of that thing and they are asking for the short payment of the amount which they calculate. In this case, they have calculated rupees 102 for the interest on account of late filing of the GST return. In this, we will mention that you have identified the interest liability of rupees 102. The company has filed all its GST returns in the time specified, for which you will attach the annexure in which you will give the detail of all the returns filed during the period and the date on which these returns have been filed. But for the month of April 2018, the company has filed the return in May 21st, 2018. And for this, we have to mention that the Government of India has extended the date of filing the return of GSTR-3B from 20th to 22nd May 2018 via notification number 23/2018 dated 18th May 2018. So at the last, we will say that it would be appreciated that the company has complied with the provisions of the law. So the proceedings in this regard should be immediately dropped on the above grounds and the documents placed on record. And always humbly request that your good self to take the above submissions on record, grant the acknowledgement of the issue, and oblige the undersigned. The company also reserves the right for personal hearing before any adverse decision is proposed to be taken with regard to the said matter. Verification at the last, we will give the verification that I hereby solemnly affirm and declare that the information given above is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief, and nothing has been concealed therefrom. Signature, designation, date. In this, you have to give the reply on the portal also, as well as a hard copy must be submitted to the department, and try to take the acknowledgement of that also. Sample 2, in which there is a difference in GSTR 3B and 2A. For this, the reply will also be submitted in form GST ASMT 11. In this, we will also give the reply accordingly that the company is registered under CGST Act, IGST Act, like that. And the difference in GSTR 3 and 2B was pertaining to the period April 21 to March 22. In this, we can say that the company, being a good corporate citizen, always strive to ensure that the provision of GST laws specifically related to the availment of the ITC and the payment of tax, filing returns are duly complied with. The company is following the process of matching all the input tax credit as availed in GSTR 3B before its availment with the GSTR 2A 2B on monthly basis. And the credit which remains unmatched for any particular month, it is not availed in the return for that said month, and it is carried forward for the availment in the future months. And when it appears in the GSTR 2A or 2B, then the company avails the credit. For this, you have to mention Rule 36 subsection sub-rule 4, in which it restricts the credit availment relating to the invoices or the debit notes not uploaded by the suppliers in their form GSTR 1 to the extent of 5%, which was notified on 1st January 2021. Further, on 1st January 2022, that 5% limit was also withdrawn. So, in other words, we can say now the ITC can be claimed only on that invoices or debit notes which are reflecting in GSTR 2A or 2B. So the SSC is following a practice of availment of ITC in compliance with the provisions as mentioned in Rule 36(4) and discharged its tax liability as per the mechanism provided in Section 49 read with Rule 88A. In this, we will also explain the things with the help of a table. In this, the company on the receipt of the notice has examined the books of records, wherein it was mentioned that the differences highlighted by your good self is not accurate. So the company has also referred the summary of ITC availment in GSTR 3B versus GSTR 2A 2B on GST portal. ITC availed as per GSTR 3B pertaining to the period April 21 to March 22, less ITC reversed during the period April to September 2021, net ITC available for this period. Out of net ITC, ITC pertaining to the financial year 2021, which was availed in financial year 21-22 till GSTR 3B of the financial year September 21. ITC pertaining to the period 21-22 and the ITC reflecting in GSTR 2A. In this particular case, you see that the ITC pertaining to the period April 21 to March 22 was 1,97,000 and the ITC reflecting in GSTR 2A is 3,05,000. So we can say that the ITC availed is less than the amount of ITC as reflected in GSTR 2A 2B, which is in line with the provisions of the law. So at the end, we humbly request your good self to consider our submissions and drop any other further proceedings in the matter and oblige us. And in case your good self requires any further information or any clarification in this regard, then we would be glad to provide the same. We assure our fullest cooperation at all the times. The company reserves its right to be heard in person or virtual hearing in case any adverse decision is proposed to be taken with regard to the above matter. At last, we will give the verification that I solemnly affirm and declare that the information given above is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief, and nothing has been concealed therefrom. Similarly, I have other notices also in which they have asked different types of questions in DRC 01 notice. DRC 01, its reply will be given in DRC 06. In which they have asked for the difference in GSTR 2A, 2B. Then we will explain the difference with the help of the rule 36.4, how the SSE has claimed the GST. Try to make the tables to explain the differences very accurately. Question number 2 was GSTR 2A credit or debit notes and ITC reversal of rupees 36,000, in which the SSE has already reduced its liability in GSTR 3B, for which you can give the transaction-wise details. Third point was inward e-way bill and GSTR 3B. There is a difference of rupees 52,355, in which we have given the explanation that the e-way bill is required for the movement of the goods having the invoice value exceeding rupees 50,000. So prima facie, there is some procurements where there is a possibility that the invoice value is less than or equal to rupees 50,000, for which the e-way bill is not required. So like this, we will make the reply to the department. Thanks for listening. And Mitali ma'am.
Good evening, all of you. Thank you, ma'am, for such a wonderful session. So we here, I would read out. Notice was received for mismatch between GSTR 3B and GSTR 2A. It was
Right.
intimated on GSTR portal. However, no intimation received in mail. We filed appeal after due date. Now appeal got rejected. What to do?
In this case, I suggest that each and every SSE has to check their GST portal regularly. And first of all, you have to check which mail ID you have given on the portal. If it is not yours organization's email ID, then first you have to correct it on the GST portal, so that in future you will get the correct GST notices in time and give the reply in time. For this, you just go to the department and physically appear there. Request the department that you have not received the mail, not received the notice on the email ID which you have given in the GST registration. So they are cooperating.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Next question is, if after registration, no business commenced and nil returns kept on being submitted quarterly for each quarter. Now, no desire of commencing business, how to get registration cancelled in such situation?
GST cancellation जब ये cancellation form है वो fill कर दीजिए, you will get the registration cancelled. But before cancellation of the registration, you have to file all the returns which are pending on your part.
Okay. And ma'am, many of the participants are requesting for the presentation that they could not note it down and for the future reference.
Okay, I will share it to the ICI and they will share it with you.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think we are done with the questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Questions are done. No other questions are there. Okay. On behalf of Women Empowerment Members Committee, I would like to thank you, our eminent speaker, CA Kusum Gandhi ma'am. It was such a wonderful session and we got to learn so much. It was so kind of you to spare out your valuable time and share the experiences, your insights, and it was a learning session overall. And also we got to learn the different type of notices, what actions to be taken, what are the consequences of not taking any action. So these are the things, because GST has been there for 2017, but notices now they are they are flooded with the
as a flood.
exactly. So
And every day your SSC will get 2 notices, 5 notices.
I know, and then they rush to their CA. Oh, I have got notice. What is there? What is that? So it was actually, I mean, enlightening session. Also, the best part was the practical experience of replying to the notices, because most of the time we get notices, we know what exactly has to be done, but presentation part we missed out.
Yeah, and in this case, in the case of GST, the form number and how you present your case, the presentation, it is very, very important. And
Correct.
always try to humbly request, always try to request the department that they help you in finding out the solution for that. And
Correct.
each and every time I observed that department persons are very cooperative, and at each and every stage they guide you. You do like this, you do like this, and you give us the reply in that manner. Every department.
Right. So, ma'am, that presentation of the practical part was really, I mean, it was that humbly asking anything, humbly requesting. Also, the table presentation, elaborated presentation with the help of case laws. Generally, we miss out on all these things, and then we say that department is not cooperating. So, so
actually,
it was actually enlightening.
Actually, the problem is we are not mentioning the case laws, facts of the case which are similar to your case. First thing is very important that the facts of your case must be matched with the case which you are mentioning. Correct. And the rules, various type of the circulars, try to attach that part of the circular as an annexer for their ready reference. Instead of asking you, just go and read that section number or the circular number or the point of that, and you have also checked that I have also mentioned that point number 7 of that particular circular. I have mentioned that, and also I have attached as an annexer that also for their ready.
Yeah, because department also wants it as a platter. They will not search anything for us, right? So when it becomes easy for them, they may.
Yes. And, yes, Sonia ma'am also elaborated one circular number 183, which is recently.
Yeah, correct. And that was very useful, I mean, for all the practitioners, because everybody is not so updated with the recent circulars and also. And it was one of the major reasons of notices also earlier. So it was actually overall, it was an enlightening session, ma'am. And your presentation was too good that everybody is asking for that.
Thanks
for the future references. Okay. Yeah. And also I would like to thank CA Shripriya ma'am and CA Preeti ma'am for organizing this sky high sessions for the women, by the women, which is very on the relevant topics actually, which is very helpful for all the practitioners. And it will help in the personal and professional growth of the women members. And also, last but not the least, I would also like to thank all the participants who joined us today, because your participation and suggestions, it really helps us to take the steps forward. So thank you so much. It was a very wonderful session, and I think we are done for the day. I would request technical team to wind up the meeting. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.